Well. Not really drama in Dallas, but definitely a lot of frustration. I want to show you Ezekiel Elliott's face in this interview today. I want you to look at the frustration on his face after this question.
One of the things you've always been exceptional at in your career is scoring in short yardage situations. How surprised were you weren't in there in those situations the last few weeks?
No, I want to be in there. I don't know.
That, my friends, is the look of frustration. Let's talk Cowboys. We're about to talk facts. Welcome, Cowboy fans and Cowboy haters alike. I'm the G, and I'm the host of Let's Talk Cowboys, where we talk facts. Let's talk facts. Ezekiel Elliott is frustrated. And I believe he's trying to keep his composure, but he's frustrated. And you may be wondering why he's frustrated. We may be wondering why he's frustrated. But I don't know what happened when Zeke and Jerry got together, his agent or whatever, and the decision was made to bring Ezekiel Elliott back. But what I can tell you, it seems to me, because when they first did it, I was like, why are they bringing Zeke back? Why are they bringing Zeke back? I mean, we saw the decline of Ezekiel Elliott. We know he's not a number one back. But what we do know, based on what we saw in New England, is that he can still be productive in an offense. And so for me, I talked about it in previous videos, that when they brought Ezekiel Elliott back, I figured he was going to be a specialist back. Zeke was going to be short yardage. He was going to be passing situations, blocking in the background, catching passes out of the backfield. That's kind of what I thought Ezekiel Elliott was going to be, especially when you're talking about goal line. You're talking about 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. I mean, Zeke has a nose for first downs and touchdowns. And it seems to me that's kind of what they told Zeke. And I think that's where his frustration is. Now, we're going to look at the rest of this video, but I don't find it to be strange. I don't find it to be coincidental. I don't think Ezekiel Elliott has a problem with Rico Dowdle being the number one back. I mean, I think he came in I think he really came in probably fully understanding that at some point, if not from the beginning, Rico Dowdle was going to be the number one back and he was going to be the situational back. But I do believe where he's frustrated is, one, he wants to contribute, and two, he sees where he can be contributing. And I don't find it to be strange. After Rico Dowdle having a great game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, almost cost the Dallas Cowboys the game by fumbling. And don't get me wrong, it was a great hit on the goal line, but I don't think that Rico Dowdle is that type of back. And really, all he had to do, Rico Dowdle, if he would have just followed his blocker, if he would have just followed Zach Martin, that wouldn't even happen. But it looked like he tried to jump or something, and then he got met in the air. And everyone's talking about the play that Dak made at the end to Jalen Tolbert. Shout out to Jalen Tolbert, but that wasn't the play of the game. The play of the game is when Rico Dowdle fumbled and Dak Prescott jumped on the ball. But I'm sure that Zeke is looking at that moment, and he's saying that I could have got in the end zone for us, and it never would have came to that. I'm sure that Zeke looked at parts of the game and he thought, I could be contributing right here, could get this first down or whatever the case may be. And for the most part, I think that Zeke has been productive. But Zeke is frustrated. I want you to listen to the video and just watch his face as he answers the questions. We're going to go and see what Clarence Hill said over on X. And then I'm going to show you some stats also of why I understand why Zeke is frustrated. So let's go back to the clip.
One of the things you've always been exceptional at in your career is scoring in short yardage situations. How surprised were you weren't in there in those situations the last 3 weeks?
No, I want to be in there. Yeah, I don't know.
Have you asked for a more defined role?
I mean, I've talked a little bit, but just kind of, letting it play itself out.
This is something, obviously, something you haven't been used to for a long, long time. And you talk to other veterans to say, how do I handle that?
Honestly, I've just been focused on, being a good teammate. I've been focusing on, continue to help lead this team. Not really so much making it about me, just, making it about this football team winning football.
Now, before someone jumps to conclusions, Zeke is not trying to be a distraction for the team. Zeke was asked those questions. And when someone asks you those questions, especially when you're frustrated, I don't think he answered them in a bad way. I think he tried to keep his composure, and he did. And he wanted to make sure he didn't show, he didn't want to say anything in a way that would bring any kind of animosity between him and Rico Dowdle. Because I think he's happy with what Rico Dowdle is doing. I just think his frustration is, I think that there was either a miscommunication or someone has went back on what they said, because I believe that Zeke came with the understanding he was going to be the short yard specialist. He was going to be the short yard specialist. But by any stretch of the imagination, he's not trying to be selfish. Clarence Hill actually talks about this over on X, and I want to show you what Clarence Hill said. Because we have to be very cognitive that a lot of times our media will run away with certain things. But Clarence Hill says, for the record, before this gets turned into a selfish narrative, Ezekiel Elliott simply answered questions he was asked. He has focused on keeping his head down and being a supportive teammate. He said that in an interview. He has been patient and not tried to make it about himself and his situation. Mike McCarthy said Elliott has been great in practice, and he has continued to fulfill his media responsibilities at his locker every week, despite his diminished role. There is nothing wrong with talking to the staff about your role. After several questions, he said we should ask the coaches. He said he was just keeping his head down and focused. So we see something that's being said here that these things don't match to me. Mike McCarthy is saying that Zeke is great in practice. He has been great in practice. He didn't say good. He said he's been great in practice. So if he's been so great in practice, then how do we come back and say he has continued to fulfill his media responsibilities at his locker every week despite his diminished role? Now, maybe that's not coming from Mike McCarthy. Maybe that's being said by Clarence Hill. But even the part about Mike McCarthy saying Elliott has been practicing well. Well, if he's been practicing great, I'm sorry, not well, but great. If he's practicing great, why does he not have a role on the team? Because his role has definitely diminished over these first 5 games. It's gotten less and less and less and less. And it's strange to me because maybe, call me crazy, but I felt like that when Zeke is on the field, and I was somebody who was like, why did they bring him back? I thought he looked pretty good. I think he looks pretty good every time he touches the field. I really do. I think he looks really good. And I think the Cowboys should keep working him in situations. But if his role is diminishing, what are we saying? Is he just going to be here for an insurance policy? Because if his role is diminished now, well, what is this saying about Dalvin Cook? Is Dalvin Cook ever going to hit the field? I'm waiting on the depth chart tomorrow. I mean, I'm recording this late Thursday night, and I'm hoping that we see on the depth chart come tomorrow, Friday morning. I'm hoping that Dalvin Cook is on the depth chart. Because in my humble opinion, I believe the Dallas Cowboys need every hand on deck. Any player that they have that can contribute in a major way. And if Dalvin Cook is what he say he is, well, I think Dalvin Cook should be on the field too. I mean, he should even be wondering, when am I coming off the practice squad? I mean, don't get me wrong. Rico Dowdle, fantastic game. Fantastic game. No problem with the Cowboys playing Rico Dowdle. I mean, Rico Dowdle, let's see what he did here. Rico Dowdle was 20 for 87, 4.3 yards a carry. Zeke was 6 for 17, 2.8 yards a carry. So I don't think Zeke has a problem with Rico. I think Zeke is clearly understanding where he is in his career. He's understanding he's not the one in a 1-2 punch. He might not even be the two in a 1-2 punch. But what he is, I think he still understands that he is a specialist running back. Anything 3 and less, there's nobody better. You want first downs? There's nobody better. You want touchdowns? There is nobody better. And I think that's how Zeke is thinking. And so he's just wondering, why is he not being used where he knows he can be used? And I don't even think he would be frustrated. I don't think he would even be frustrated if he probably was not told that that was going to be his role. He was probably told that was going to be his role. And so I think that's where he's frustrated. And like I said, I think where Zeke is frustrated, it seems to me he was told he was going to be that short yard specialist out of the backfield, blocking out of the backfield, passing situations. I mean, I think that's what he was told. But he's watching that role be diminished. And so Clarence Hill, he went and it sounds like Clarence Hill is saying that Zeke went and talked to the coaching staff and asked them what gives. So I'll be interested to see what happens this week because, squeaky wheel gets the oil. I believe that Zeke will get opportunities this week after having a talk with the coaching staff. I do. I think he'll get a few more opportunities. But, that's if we have to think about, that's if Dalvin Cook doesn't get brought up. If Dalvin Cook doesn't get brought up. And if Dalvin Cook, if we're saying he's not as good as Ezekiel Elliott, I mean, what's the point? I mean, I guess you could say he's on the practice squad, so no harm, no foul. And if anybody wants him, they could come get him. But at the same time, I mean, for me, I'm like, why get him if you're not going to use him? But I guess I understand if you just want him there for insurance purposes. So, but I'll show you another reason why Zeke is frustrated. Because as I said, Zeke understands. I mean, Zeke sees himself as a short yardage specialist. Let's look at these stats. I believe Zeke is a short yardage specialist. Because if you look at from 1 to 3 yard situations, he's 7 carries for 22 yards. 22 yards. I mean, that's a lot when you're talking about you may need 1, 2, or 3 yards. He's getting them. He's getting them. And we may be saying, oh, man, who wants somebody that can only, get you 22 yards and 7 carries? But the situation matters. And if you ask me, and I'm going to talk about this in my breakdown coming up for the game with the Detroit Lions, the one thing Mike McCarthy needs to practice, he needs to study, is situational football. When you look at the turnovers that Dak had, when you look at why they're failing some of these times down in the red zone, Mike McCarthy is calling. He calls some great plays, but he also calls some bonehead plays. He calls plays at times and you're wondering, why are you calling that play at this time of the game? We're down in the red zone. Why are you calling this particular pass play? Why are you trying to get fancy down here? Why don't you just go smash mouth? Okay, let's grind it out. Make this defense get honest. Let's pound it out. Get 2 or 3 yards. Put Zeke in. Hey, between the tackles, get us 2 or 3 yards. Some hard yards so we can make it 3rd and short rather than 3rd and long. I mean, some of the play situations, if we could run the ball better, I believe we wouldn't be in those situations. But when we think about Zeke, he's 7 carries for 22 yards in these short yardage from 1 to 3 yards. And then 1 TD, of course, he's been put in that situation. He paid dividends. But look at this, 6 first downs. Why would you not want that productivity? Why would you not want that productivity? I mean, even looking at this chart right here, I mean, Zeke knows what he is. I mean, from 1 to 3 yards, I gave you what he was. And we can see here when it comes to Rico Dowdle, I mean, he looks a lot better. 11 for 53, 4.8 yards a carry average and 8 first downs. But at the same time, I see where Zeke is frustrated. I see where Zeke is frustrated because it seems to me Zeke is frustrated because he was told how he was going to be used and he's not being used. I feel for Zeke. I mean, I was questioning why did the Cowboys bring him back? But after I saw him in that Cleveland game, I was kind of like, okay, Zeke looks pretty good. And I mean, even when we've seen him, I'm kind of like, he looks pretty good. Not necessarily a workhorse back anymore, but he can still block. He can still catch out of the backfield. So I think if they used Zeke more, he would produce more. And I think he's saying the same thing because, you know, Zeke is on fresh legs. And I think he understands that if you'll let me help you in these games, I can help with the load with Rico Dowdle. I think that's what he's saying. But again, man, I feel for Zeke. I understand he wants to still contribute. But, you know, he also understands the game that he plays. The game that he plays, man, it's a young man's game. It's a young man's game. And the older you get, there's always some young player who's ready to take your spot. So you have to continue to keep on getting better mentally. So wherever you start deteriorating physically, you make it forward in your mental game. But the running back thing is a whole different animal, though. Because you see in most positions, I mean, you see where the wide receivers, I mean, they can pretty much make it until they're around, 32? And if they're really good and keep their bodies in shape, they can make it to around 33, 34, even 35 before it's finally time to hang it up for good. You look at quarterbacks, I mean, they can go to their 40s. I mean, I wonder if Dak Prescott's going to do that because I believe that if he does that, it's not going to be with the Dallas Cowboys. And if he's still playing that well, I don't think he'll be getting top of the market money. So he really will have to start taking some discounts if he still wants to be the quarterback of the Cowboys. But, you know, quarterbacks can play till they're 40. Tom Brady played to 45. Aaron Rodgers, he's playing right now at 40. But when it comes to the running back, it's not like it was when Emmitt Smith played. Emmitt Smith's record will never be broken. I don't believe his rushing record will ever be broken unless there's a running back that comes in the league and runs 3 or 4 2,000-yard seasons. And even then, I don't think he'll even get close to Emmitt Smith's rushing record because it's a different game now. The running backs are taking more punishment. The defenses are bigger and stronger and faster. And so the running backs aren't lasting the way that they used to. So it's a young man, and it's a young man's game, especially at running back, because once you get that rookie deal, I mean, unless you're absolutely phenomenal, like a Christian McCaffrey, you're not getting that second deal. Unless you're Derrick Henry, an absolute monster, you're not getting that second, third deal. I mean, Saquon Barkley, they're still kind of fighting Saquon Barkley. He's not getting the deals that you would think he would get, and he's a serious running back. If he could stay healthy, I'm telling you, him and Christian McCaffrey, 1A and 1B, Saquon is nice, but that running back thing, it don't last long. Look at Christian McCaffrey right now. Look at him. I mean, they're talking about his career could literally be over. That's the life of a running back. So Zeke understands he's a running back. It is what it is. He's still getting paid from Dallas off that first contract and whatever he's making this year. So it is what it is. I feel for him. But at the same time, that's the game that he signed up for. But that's going to do it for me. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Does Ezekiel Elliott deserve more playing time? Do y'all think he can contribute still? Put it down in the comments and tell me what you think. But until the next time, if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll know when I drop the next video on Let's Talk Cowboys, where we talk facts. Peace.